Hey, Paul, can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, Renee, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Give me 1 second. I'm gonna try to switch um, my headset here.
Okay. I see Anthony's in the attendees.
Okay, I'll grab them.
All right.
I think a couple people might be there because,
Oh, Laura's there too.
okay, wait a second. See Anthony and promote him.
Oh, Mike's in now.
Ah, they're bouncing around.
Thanks, Renee.
You're welcome. I'm just seeing if there's anyone else. And of course, I wrote down on the agenda applicant 3 and 4, and I can't remember now which one was 3 and which is 4, so I have to go through my paperwork real quick. Let me know if you guys see anyone else that's in there that needs to be.
Yeah, it's either Lucky Green Ladies or.
Number 3 was Lucky Green Ladies.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna promote Alyssa here. And then 4 is the Exit Tenant LLC?
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I see that.
Yeah.
The DPHROs are on.
So I'll promote them afterwards. So Alex, if you're listening, I'll get you and Rob after we're done with the other applicant. Okay, Alyssa, you should be able to unmute yourself. And is there anyone else coming on with you as well that I need to bring in?
No.
Okay, we'll be a few minutes. We don't have quorum just yet.
Oh, Michael's on now. Mike Toole's on.
It's kind of nice having the boxes. You can just count people. Okay, we'll give it another minute to see if others join. And I have a note from Sandy. She is going to be late, so. So Anthony, you're with us until 8 o'clock?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mike is on here on his cell phone. Let me just bring him in. Okay, Mike, you should be able to mute yourself. Then you can talk. Mike Massini, that is. If you can test just to make sure we're doing okay.
Yep, Renee, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you. Thank you, Mike.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so we have 7. We have 5 of the EDC. And we're already recording. Okay, so I will call the meeting to order. It is October 8th, 2020. The time is 7:07 p.m. This is a meeting of the Economic Development Commission, specifically the Marijuana Retailer Subcommittee. Of the EDC, we have 5 members present, myself, Renee Deli, Laura Parker, Anthony Kolodacek, and Michael Toole, and Mike Massini. And to extend that to the Marijuana Retailer Subcommittee, we also have Paul DiGiuseppe and Mike Units on the town manager. So on our agenda today, we have discussions with applicant number 3 and 4, Lucky Green Ladies and Exit 10 LLC. And then we will do the review of our final applicant, which is Team Green. We'll have some discussion about, what we want to see from the advisors, and then we'll talk about our next meeting.
May, if I could just interrupt, Denise said she's here, but it doesn't look like she's been promoted.
Here. Okay. So Denise Luciano is joining at 7:08. Okay, Denise, you should be all set to just unmute yourself and be able to talk. And my nose looks red in my camera view. There you are, live from California. But we can't hear you.
Oh, I was on mute. Sorry about that.
It's okay, you're all set. Hold on 1 second, I see a couple chats. Okay. So with that being said, any questions before we get started? Okay, so Alyssa, give me 1 second here. I just want to pull up the initial email and then we can go through. Sorry, I had some technical difficulties and some with remote learning, so I got to my laptop a little bit later than I had hoped.
No worries. I made a PowerPoint. Would it be okay to share my screen?
It would, yes. I still want to pull up the questions though, just so we make sure that we hit them.
No worries.
I just have to find them. Okay, so Alyssa, just kind of as an intro to everyone, it looked like we had a total of 13 questions for you. So with that being said, I can see your screen. I imagine everybody else can. So if you, would you rather just go through the presentation and then we'll just do a tick and tie at the end on the questions?
Sounds good.
Okay, take it away.
All right. Good evening, members of the Marijuana Retailer Subcommittee. My name is Alyssa Nowak. I am the CEO of Lucky Green Ladies. Thank you for the opportunity to give the committee more information on our RFI. I am going to jump right into this. I know you have a long night tonight, but please feel free to stop me at any point if you have any questions along the way. So the first question is there an issue with an out-of-state party being an indirect or direct controlling member? And the answer to that is no. Under 935 CMR 500, there are no ownership restrictions for an out-of-state party. There is a background screening that is conducted on all indirect and direct controlling members to ensure they are suitable to hold a license. And as long as each individual passes this background screening, regardless of their residential state, they are allowed to be a controlling member. And I know Laura mentioned this with other applicants, the percentage of ownerships, and I just wanted to be as transparent as possible. So myself, Alyssa Nowak, will hold a 90% ownership, excuse me, and my mom, Joanne Nowak, will hold a 10% ownership. And then for the proof of funds, there was 4 questions on this, and for clarity, I've kind of combined them and split them up into 2 slides. And some of the information that I'm going to be covering is providing the proof of funds, the line of credit, and the financial backing. So I emailed the proof of funds to the Marijuana Retailer Subcommittee on Tuesday, October 6th. I showed that there was $1 million in available funds in a bank account, Key Bank. And that bank account is solely owned and operated by my mom, Joanne Nowak. So the line of credit and financial backing. The line of credit is from my father, Martin Nowak. He submitted this as evidence of liquidity to fund the establishment. To ensure confidentiality, our original proof of funds was heavily redacted. In our RFI, the reason we had some information that may have seemed conflicting was because my parents view their property and assets as jointly owned, as they have been happily married for 31 years. But for clarification, Martin has transferred the funds equal to $1 million to Joanne's account, and Joanne will be the sole financial contributor. And then the next question was on the lease with Gator. So has the lease with Gator been signed? And if not, at what point do you intend on signing? So no, the lease has not been signed yet. We were looking for some type of assurance from the town that they're willing to enter negotiations for the host community agreement. And in addition to that host community agreement, we're also waiting on the passing of the proposed bylaws. Both parties are ready to execute. The lease has been drafted and it's just waiting to be signed. And then security agents, the question was, is the security agent on site during operating hours? And yes, one security agent will always be present during hours of operation. They will greet guests at the door and check their ID. Security agents will arrive 30 minutes prior to opening to ensure all ID machines are in working order. There will always be 2 marijuana establishment agents on site at all times, and the security monitors will be located in my office. And then the next question was on plans for home delivery. Explain in more detail the plans for home delivery. So for the past 8 months, all of my focus has been on the RFI process. Immediately after submitting the RFI, I started on applying for the pre-certification on home delivery. And 1 week after the submission of the RFI, I submitted the application to the CCC and heard back from them the next day requesting more information on 2 minor issues. And now we're just waiting for approval. Our plan is to deliver mostly for our customers, and then I have their other retailers if needed, which that means if we have the available staff and resources such as vehicles, we will contract with another retailer to deliver their products as well. But mainly our plan is to deliver for our customers. The next question was, what happens if a retailer in Norton has contracted with a licensed third party to deliver in Norton? Must they cease their third party agreement? The answer to that is no. Other retailers in the town of Norton are allowed to contract with a third-party delivery service, but that third-party contractor must be a social equity or economic empowerment applicant. I just did that one. Then municipal revenue. Under which municipality is the sale recorded if Lucky Green Ladies delivers their own product to another town? What if Lucky Green Ladies is contracted as a third-party delivery licensee to deliver an outside retailer's products to Norton? And what about outside of Norton? So the selling retailer records the sale regardless of the consumer's residential location. I want to review 3 different scenarios in respect to the municipal revenue. The first is if we make a sale from our Norton facility, Norton receives a 3% sales tax from the product regardless of where the customer lives. Norton also receives a 3% community impact fee on that sale of product and a community impact fee on our delivery charge. The second is if Lucky Green Ladies is contracted by, let's say, an Attleboro shop to deliver to a Norton resident, Attleboro captures the sales tax, but the delivery charge that we are paid, Norton will receive a community impact fee. And then the third scenario is if we are contracted to deliver for Attleboro and we're delivering to a residence that's neither Attleboro nor Norton, Norton will still receive a community impact fee from our delivery charge because our delivery headquarters would be located in Norton. And then plans for other ownership interests. The question is, please comment on your plans to have ownership interests in another retail establishment within the Commonwealth or elsewhere. So I am interested in having another retail store in another municipality, but at this point in time, that's just an aspiration. For the past 8 months, I've been very, very involved in the regulatory process for retail in Norton, and all of my focus has been on the town of Norton. I have no discussions with other municipalities for retail, but I may explore the opportunity in greater detail in the waiting periods of my application with the CCC. The only other license category I am currently involved in is the pre-certification for the delivery, which I mentioned that I have applied for. And then additional information, I know this wasn't a formal question asked, but during the review of my application, there was some confusion surrounding my mentorships and what they entail. So Caroline Frankel of Caroline's Cannabis has been my biggest mentor. I really look up to her because she was the first mom and pop shop and woman-owned business in Massachusetts. She runs her business very similar to the way I envision my business to be. She's guiding me through the host community agreement process. Anytime I call, she's always there to give me advice. She's opened her networks of connections to me. For example, her attorney is my attorney. She's also put me in contact with other cannabis industry professionals that have helped me along the way. And after I received my provisional license, Caroline will connect me with product manufacturers and cultivators. She's allowed me to tour her store and showed me how things work in real time, which I found very helpful. And then post-operation, I know I can continue to count on her for her guidance. And then Brian Steyer helped from 4 Daughters in Sharon, Mass. He helped me earlier on in the process. He helped me with finding real estate and negotiating with landlords. He reviewed my operational plans and gave me insight. He's connected me with his network as well. And I'm also able to call him at any time with any questions that I have. And then thank you for the opportunity to give the committee more information. And please let me know if you guys have any questions.
Thank you, Alyssa. Really appreciate it. So I'll open it up to the committee or the commission. What are we? No, we are a subcommittee. Sorry. If there are any questions on any of the questions that we had asked Alyssa and the answers that she provided.
I'm good. I thought it was
Renee,
very
can I-
thorough.
oh.
Sorry, go ahead.
Can I just, Alyssa, if I can just ask just one clarifying, I know you covered, I just want to make sure, but that line of credit is from your parents' account, right? It's not directly a line of credit with the bank, correct?
Yes, that's a line of credit from my father's account. But then we've kind of, since you guys mentioned that you wanted cash on hand, he moved some funds around and had transferred those $1 million in cash to my mom's bank account.
Okay, great, thank you.
And Alyssa, you sent that to us, correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
I
and
think there was one thing that I did forget to send you that I will send you along with this PowerPoint, because I know, Renee, you need them after the presentation. But I have a screenshot of the proof that I applied for the delivery license, and I could send that in as well.
Okay, great, thank you.
and I did put the information in the email in Dropbox today.
Okay, thanks, Paul.
Any
So we're
other
just
questions?
remembering the one email or the one snapshot that you sent. Sorry, Alyssa. Any other questions?
Nope, I'm happy. It was a great job. I appreciated all the follow-up. It was very detailed.
Thank you, Laura.
None for me. Alyssa, I think you did a phenomenal job touching on all these questions with impeccable detail.
Thank you. Andrew, right? Was that Andrew?
Anthony.
Anthony, sorry.
Close. No worries.
Close with no cigar.
Okay, well, if there are no questions, Alyssa, again, thank you so much for your time and coming back to us and providing those follow-up questions. We have our next meeting will hopefully be the meeting where we do a final review, vote, and decision. So I'll certainly be in touch following that meeting. I'm sure that you'll be attending anyway, so.
Yes, as always.
Okay,
All right,
well, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Okay, so give me 1 second, guys. Let me promote in the other team here. Okay. Okay, so Alex, Alyssa, I just need you, can you unshare your screen, please?
Can you hear us?
Yep, I got you, Alex, and I just brought Robin as well.
Uh-oh. How about see us? Can you see us?
I don't see you. I see it looks like your camera's covered or closed.
Give me 1 sec. It's running me through.
I think I'm gonna have to change some settings here, guys. Give me a second. Okay. Okay, I see Rob. Did we lose Alex? Hold on.
Popping in and out.
Yeah, I know. He ended up back in attendees.
Oh, there we
There
go.
we go.
Can you see us?
Yes, we can see you now.
Sorry about that. A little Zoom issue.
No, that's okay. If Alex, if you can just give me 1 second, I just want to pull up your questions as well.
I have a slideshow as well if you.
Sure. Yep. If you want to take us through the slides, and then we'll go back if we have to the questions. That'll be great. You can certainly take it away, and we can see a very cute young boy.
That was my son. If you hear them in the background, then I apologize in advance.
That's okay. No worries. Okay, so Alex, before you start, so we sent you, as a result of our initial review, 14 questions
Yep.
that we'll have some discussion on.
Yeah, we're going to just run through a quick slideshow. We're not going to go line by line on the questions, but hopefully in the process, we'll kind of answer all the 14 that were submitted. We did submit formal responses that I emailed to you. But if there's any questions, kind of ask as they come up. We're going to keep it a little bit loose, and hopefully we touch on everything that you guys had questions on.
Okay, and I'm going to ask that, I see your email in here, and I see that I forwarded it. Did everybody receive that email?
I did.
Okay, as long as one person did, I know it went to the right group.
I got it, Renee.
Okay, thank you. And Alex, can you just introduce Rob and the young lady to your right?
Yes, I happily introduce my wife to my right, Lindsay DiPietro, my partner in this endeavor. And then Rob Lally, who's on there as well, is part of the Cultivate team that we're, I don't want to use the word partnered with, but we're partnered with as far as licensing and working with them on distribution and things like that, which we'll get into as part of the presentation as well too. I know there was some confusion just right off the bat. Exit 10, what does that mean? We will be, for all intents and purposes, feel like a Cultivate dispensary.
Does that include changing your name? I know that was one of the first questions, or will it be Exit 10?
Yeah, so it will be Cultivate on the sign. So we'll be doing business as Cultivate. Exit 10 is just the corporation that we started to get through this process, which is very similar to what we do today as Dunkin' franchisees. Each one is a separate corporation doing business as Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay, great. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, and feel free to take us through your presentation.
Sure.
Okay, so I just wanted to thank everybody for letting us have the opportunity to present to you today. As Alex said, my name is Lindsay. We are partners, equal partners in Exit 10 LLC, and it is going to be just the corporation that is owning the company we will be doing business as Cultivate. I wanted to give you some background on us because we are very well versed in the retail experience. We work in a family business together, a business that my father started over 50 years ago. We work alongside my sisters and their husbands as well. My dad helped open the first Dunkin' Donuts in Norton actually 40 years ago, and now it's still in our family. His nephew owns it. So we own together in our family, we own and we operate over 100 stores in 3 different states. Those are Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Florida. And we employ over 2,000 people. The way that we handle things in our business right now, Alex is very hands-on. He's in the day-to-day operations. He's the director of operations, I would say. And I'm in the back office. I handle human resources. I handle things like health insurance and everything that's changing day to day. That all falls on me. I'm not really in the stores too much. We have 20 years of experience together, both of us. I have been working for my father a lot longer than Alex has. But we do find that there are parallels between the Dunkin' industry and this industry. And that's what Alex is going to speak to a little bit, and how Cultivate will play into that as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. As Lindsay mentioned, I think one of the big things that kind of struck me when we met Cultivate about a year and a half ago was the parallels, like Lindsay said, with the business we do today. And the cannabis business, as it kind of matures, you see the runway of how it's going to span out. And we think our retail background lends itself extremely well to operations, and especially for a retail shop. One thing that that struck me completely, not off guard, but was very surprising at the time, was how much there was to learn about how it comes from seed to sale, right? So commercial kitchens, distribution, manufacturing, marketing, all of those things lend itself to a successful retail and dispensary shop. Like I said, we met Cultivate about a year and a half ago. If you're not familiar with Cultivate, they were the first adult use retail dispensary in Massachusetts. I'll let Rob give a little bit of background on that. But in touring them and understanding their business, it was incredible to see the breadth of knowledge that you need to have a successful dispensary, to develop products, to to have that research and development and that marketing to really drive customers to your shops and to offer them the types of products that will bring them back, candidly, which is something that we have the luxury in our business today, where you have that cyclical business. You have those customers that live and die by your brand, and we're seeing that develop now. We're seeing brands develop. We're seeing products develop. My opinion, candidly, is that there will be a Lay's potato chip of cannabis, or a Budweiser of cannabis. There will be a Dunkin' Donuts of cannabis, I think, in the future. And you're seeing that in other markets, and you're seeing that start to develop here. And when I saw what Cultivate, not only to be the first dispensary to open in Massachusetts, and the hurdles that they had to kind of jump over, and the relationships that they formed with the town in order to partner together and really drive successful business in Massachusetts, was something that really stuck with me, and I could get right behind. So a year and a half ago, we met. I had invested in that company, and we developed this partnership and this determination to see where it might make sense to evolve that brand. So we, in proximity to where we have business today in Easton and surrounding towns, and like Lindsay said, her dad actually helped with Norton in the past, getting the Dunkin' Donuts there. We found a spot that fits the zoning today as it pertains to what the town has approved in industrial. And not only that, we view this as a great site for any business, and especially this as retail, with this access to 495, easy on, easy off, has stoplights. It has all the things we look for in retail today that show us that this is going to be hopefully a successful site for any business, especially the cannabis business. On the site, on the PowerPoint, as you can see, is the site and future development of the site. I know you're probably all familiar with this, being involved in it, I'm sure, already. But we would be building two. I know there was some confusion around our exact location on the site. When you pull in off of 123, you'd take a right, and we would be the far corner location. Parking, 75 spots, which we'll get into. But as part of that, if you go down, this would be the look and the feel of the site. This is an actual dispensary today that Cultivate owns and operates, inside, outside, and that is actually the up and running 75,000 square foot grow facility that is in Uxbridge, which is where we will be pulling a lot of, probably all of our product from for the future to supply the dispensary. Rob, I don't know if you want to chime in and give a little bit of background about Cultivate, and just kind of, I kind of touched on the partnership, but give a little bit of background on what you've done in the past and kind of how the two worlds kind of combine.
Sure, thanks. Hi, my name is Rob Lally. I'm one of the founders of Cultivate, and we've been, as Alex said, we were the first retailer to open with, along with Netta, in the state of Massachusetts. So we have as much or more experience in Massachusetts in the adult use market than any other retailer as well. In addition to that, we have a fully vertically integrated medical license in Leicester, Massachusetts, where we grow, process, and sell both medical and adult use. We have dispensaries located in Leicester, another one in Framingham, and we have a future site that's under construction now in the city of Worcester. It should open up in the beginning of 2021. So, you know, we come from a very regulated environment where myself and my business partners, we actually built the first casino in the state of Maine. We understand regulations as well as anybody, and this is a very strict and a very regulated environment. And I think that the experience that we can bring to Exit 10 to Lindsay and Alex is really what we're doing here. So we're here to help them with a lot of that industry specific knowledge of how to track all of the information every single day, how to make sure that you're doing everything by the book. And believe me, the regulations change all the time and you have to be above it. So we feel that partnering with them allows us to expand our name, which is the Cultivate brand. It allows us to sell our wholesale into their store, but also helps give them the experience they're going to need in order to run a successful operation. And what we found in most of the cities and towns that we do business with is the cities and towns always want to make sure that whoever they decide to partner with, that they're going to be successful. And what we thought was really particularly exciting about the DPHOs is obviously their experience in running retail operations, building, running, and managing them. And I think that that's why this partnership will be very successful if we're fortunate enough to get a host agreement. I'll continue on this one, Al. One of the big questions that we get in all the locations that we go to is security. And I think that NetWatch is certainly the industry leader. And in what NetWatch is basically a 24-hour, 7 days a week, 365 days of network monitoring. So every inch inside the retail location is recorded. We have to keep that recording on site for 90 days and have to be able to give that information and make that available to the CCC at a moment's notice. We also cover the outside of the building. And inside and outside of the building, you have somebody managing that whole environment. It's like a security guard that's there online all the time. And they have actual voice and speakers so that they can have two-way conversations. So if somebody were to walk up to the building in the middle of the night in off hours, they would notify that person that they're intruding on our space and that they will be notifying the authorities if they don't leave immediately. We will get an email or a call, depending on what the issue is, immediately after that so that we can resolve the issue. And it is better than a security guard because it's everywhere. It doesn't sleep. It's reliable. Last week, for instance, there was a shortage in one of the closets that sparked a little bit. We got a call on it right then. It was no problem. Nothing happened, but they were on it. There was a leak in the basement of one of our properties. Literally got a call. You know, they are on top of everything. And I really think it's important to make sure that the site and the facility is extremely secure. We met with the police chief and we talked a little bit about this. And one of the things that we wanted to offer up to him, and I think they'll take us up on this, is the ability for them and the security, and the policemen, if there was an alarm, if something was going on, they would be able to drive up to our facility and on their computers in their squad cars, they could get a live feed of what's going on inside the building, so that they don't go into, if there was ever a situation, they wouldn't go into a situation that they weren't prepared for or actually see into. So we think security is really important. You have to have that as part of the requirements. It's something that everybody in the town would want, and it's something that we take extremely seriously. We also talked to the police chief about what does it look like on the outside. We do not currently have paid security guards at our retail locations. We started off with them in there, and we had security guards there full time. And what we found was that we really just didn't need them. Marijuana, cannabis has become so much more of just a retail experience. So the requirement of having that security guard there isn't necessarily there. As you walk into the first thing that happens when you come onto one of our premises, and what we would propose here is that you would have somebody with an ID scanner, and they scan your license to ensure that you're over 21 and you're of legal age to come in to purchase cannabis. And that is a handheld scanner that we use at every one of our locations. You have to show that ID once you come inside again. And then ultimately, before you purchase, you have to also have that license available. So we have 3 distinct separate points where it's checked in the course of a transaction. When we spoke to the police chief, we talked about the opening. As we mentioned, when we first opened, you may have heard of Cultivate because of all of the traffic issues that were on every single news channel. Because remember, we were the first to open east of the Mississippi, which means you had thousands of people that were coming up to Leicester to check out this brand new facility that no one had seen on the East Coast. I can tell you, and I encouraged anybody to call the Leicester Police Department or the Leicester Town Hall. We have not had any problems with traffic since then. We addressed the issues as soon as they were made or aware to us, and corrected all of any problems that any of the neighbors were having. And we haven't had a traffic problem or an incident since we opened in Leicester. And we've worked well with the town on that. So security is important. We know it's important. And I think we do the best job of it in the state.
Yeah, I think that our feeling is we're going to try our best to emulate what's been successful. And, in dealing with Rob and his group and their 2 other dispensaries that have been open, taking what their learnings are and kind of incorporating them into what we're trying to do. And, NetWatch being a big part of that, their learnings with the police and having access to stores 24/7 is part of that. Like you said, ID checking, things like that, which is, I think, a huge benefit to not only us, but to any business, right? To have that history of success. And part of that being, their access to customers, right? So they already have marketing. They already have a breadth of products that are proven, that are established, that are in market today that people are requesting and seeking out, quite honestly. I know one of the big questions, I shouldn't even say big questions, one of the questions that came up was just around some of the language of the amount of customers that we'll be able to serve. Granted, we are being a bit cautious in our numbers. We do believe that we can operate and run a successful business, and that's where I think Lindsay and myself, our retail experience that we have on the Dunkin' side, which is so transactional. I actually look at these numbers and I kind of chuckle because we serve these kind of customers in an hour, right? So today, so looking at this, and estimating what we think we'll not only do for sales, but what the throughput looks like and what the opportunity is on timing and overall customer transaction times and things like that. We believe that while they're great today and they lend themselves to a sustainable business, we believe that there's an improvement there for us as well on the retail side. But, being cautious and being optimistic, we think that these are the numbers that you see above. We'll be able to service as many customers as we take, but, kind of running the numbers that we see, we think that conservatively between 100 to 200 customers a day is something that's reasonable and based on some KPIs that we've had from the Cultivate team on new openings. Granted, it's COVID time, so true traffic numbers are always a little bit different depending on how this pans out in the next year or so. But we believe that this is reasonable. We believe that we can improve these numbers, and we believe we can run a successful business with the products that they have today, not only to mention the ones that they're developing and continuing to expand on, which people, like I said, are seeking out today. They want, I know you've heard this from other applicants, it really comes down to the success of operating and the breadth of products, right? So I think that having that already done for you is a huge benefit to us, to any retail establishment, to have that on day one. And I think that's, and we touched a bit on shortages of cannabis in the industry, not stating that that is a problem that affects us really as a differentiator for us, because we do have access to, as I showed you in the beginning, that 75,000 square foot grow facility, and the products that Cultivate supplies today.
Yeah, Alex, I'll just add one point on that shortage is that any of the other applicants that aren't fully aligned with a full-scale grow and processing company, I think are at risk of not having enough product to supply their store. We're seeing that in the industry today. Eventually there'll be product for the retailers, but if you're not aligned with a store like what we're discussing here today, I think that there is a chance that supply at the stores could be a problem. And I think the relationship that we have with Exit 10 will minimize that and effectively take that out of as a consideration.
Parking, I know that was discussed quite a bit in regards to our application. Our feeling that is quite frankly that this is more than enough parking, candidly. While it is parking that fits any retail approved space, which is one space per 500 square feet, the numbers that we've seen at other dispensaries, specifically Cultivates and others in the industry, it's not like when they opened their first dispensary in Leicester where it was kind of a scene. It's more of an everyday retail opening, right? Like it would open a Dunkin' Donuts these days. You get obviously a little bit of a flush at the beginning, but which we're happy to work with the town on. We've discussed with the chief if we need to have detail, if we need to do things like that for the first, couple weeks, if we need to do it by appointment only, which I know that the retail location above in Framingham that Cultivate opened, they did, which turned out unnecessary in the end of it, is something that we're willing to work with the town on. Just to give you an idea, we wanted to give you an idea because this location in Framingham that Cultivate opened a few months back is right on Route 9. I don't know if you're familiar with that area, but it's a heavy traffic area that goes up and down to the Mass Pike and into Boston. It's right on the highway. It has about 38 spaces and has had to date, correct me if I'm wrong, but really no issues with traffic based on customer counts per hour. And I know you saw that in my calculation before, but I'm happy to go back to it. But we anticipate roughly 27 to 30 customers an hour. So it's nothing that is overwhelming, especially from our background in Dunkin' Donuts. But for any retail, I don't think it would be overwhelming to the parking situation. Not to mention that the site itself on the Condyne site has ample parking around the other retail buildings as well for any overflow, which we've talked to the landlord about. And his discussion with us is there's no need with the retail locations in there for any designated parking outside of potentially maybe employee parking, but he still feels and we feel that we have ample parking for the use. And then this was kind of to give you some background on the industry and what Rob discussed around the lack of available product in the market. And one reason that we've partnered with Cultivate amongst, a laundry list of other reasons, but it's one thing that we feel strongly that we come to market with right off of day one and have access to an incredible amount of products, honestly. I don't know if you've had the opportunity to tour a facility or see what actually goes into these things, but it is 10 industries in one. You go in, I think when I walked into Cultivate, just a quick anecdote, the chef was in Ecuador hunting down cocoa beans for their chocolate bar, which completely caught me off guard because, you don't think of it in the way that people are now seeking out these types of things when it comes to cannabis. I mean, it is, organic. It is, it's the same things we see in parallel in Dunkin' brand, in our brand today. There's a need for taste. There's a need for effect. There's a need for, a million different things that that there will be in our products for, whether you do it X, Y, or Z way, whether you ingest it, whether you smoke it, whether you do all these other things. there's people looking for those types of products. And when I walked into Cultivate and I saw the menu, I guess you would say, of what was available and what the goal was moving forward to present to their customers, it really differentiates them as a brand. I think it is a sight to see when you walk in and see everything built around it, whether it's around packaging or just, everything that goes into it. It's an impressive feat. And we feel very confident that with their background and their knowledge in the industry and ours in the retail space, we think that it's a great marriage, and we feel like we could have a really successful business in this location, especially considering it's a great location and it's a location that fits the regulations today, I guess, around industrial zoning. So we'd just like to thank you. If there's any questions, I know we kind of didn't answer question by question. I hope we touched on a lot of the things that you wanted to hear as far as answering those questions, but if there wasn't enough clarity, please ask away and we're happy to answer.
I get one last comment is because I was looking at the questions. We're planning on working with Condyne to open next August, right? 2021. And I think that's a pretty good time frame. I can tell you that I think the DiPietros and us have a lot of experience in construction and building and tenant fit out. We will work with Condyne to make that happen. But in addition to that, the process at the CCC is really challenging and can be, and it's quite arduous. We've done it now many times. We feel like we can get through that process and through the town's process. And we do think that August of 2021 is a reasonable timeframe to expect that we could be open.
Yeah, and as part of that, I know construction was a question. Condyne will be building the shell. We'll be doing all the fit outs.
Right.
That would be similar to the image you've seen with the Cultivate interior. So they'll be helping us as far as design, and we have access to both construction on their end, as well as through Condyne to make things even more efficient if need be. But we feel very confident, like Rob said, in those dates. And we actually think it's great because, like Rob said, I think a lot of the timing aligns, and it'll give us a chance to fit out as they're building. So it should align really well.
Great. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Lindsay and Rob. So I'll open it up to the group on questions or comments for the team.
I just had a quick question, and I apologize if I missed it in the presentation, but I know that we had questions around benefits and the training. I didn't recall hearing that addressed in the presentation.
Yeah, definitely. So we provided the training documents as an attachment. I sent it earlier. I apologize for not touching on it sooner, but we'll be leveraging a mix of overall employee training that we've used in our retail business today, with a lot of the cannabis-related training that we've leveraged from Cultivate and materials that they've used that have been successful in the past. We provided, I think, a formal document to you that kind of goes in a little bit more in depth on that. But the idea being that we'd format our training process very similarly to what's been successful with Cultivate. Benefits, we're considered a large employer, obviously, with the amount of employees that we have. As part of that, we are obligated by the state, and because we want to be a good employer and an employer of choice, to provide benefits to our employees that are subsidized based off of minimum wage. Obviously, in this business, you pay more than minimum wage, but they'd be severely subsidized so that they could be considered affordable as part of the Affordable Care Act. So we, it's great to promise. We're regulated in these things, so we definitely make sure that we cross all our T's and dot our I's so that we're providing the best healthcare for our employees at an affordable price based on, not only what the government and the state believe is fair, but what we believe is fair and appropriate for our employees.
If I could just piggyback on that, I know you had mentioned salary and it would be above minimum wage. What do you believe your starting hourly salary is going to be, or hourly wage?
So, we threw some numbers in our report. It'll be probably around the $16, $17 an hour for minimum wage, for hourly workers. We hope to, as we do in this business, pay above that for people who are looking for more of a career and provide a career path for this. Management would be salaried, and they would be salaried at a rate above kind of what we're paying today, closer to 65, 70,000 a year, depending on, whether they're training, whether they're in that fulfilled role and things like that. But we like to provide a clear career path in our business and clear lines on how there is growth. As part of that, to the training point, training will be a large part of how their pay scale will run. The amount of training that they're willing to put in, the amount of work that, and education that they want to put in on the business will kind of dictate a lot of that stuff. But we feel like in this business, it's important to have people that are extremely educated on not only the products, but, being able to educate the customers correctly and drive them to the right things that would have a good experience for them and make them want to return, right? So while we always want friendly employees, I think that this is a much different thing as far as their knowledge of what they're selling. So that'll play an important piece on kind of the pay scale as well. Does that answer your question? I apologize if it was a little bit all over the place.
Nope, that was great. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Michael.
I know you said August. It was other inquiries I know to the retail space was said that building 1 is the first building. You are in building 2. Building 1 is October. And I guess I didn't ask the proper question, is building 2 happening before building 1? But I was under the impression building 1 was the first building. You're confident that it's in August?
That is what we have on all of the definitive paperwork. And we've got a pretty good relationship with Jeff O'Neill. And we've been having lots of discussions with him around project planning specific to our project, not necessarily to the entire project, candidly. The timing that he's given us and feels very comfortable giving us is that mid-August timeframe, which through pulling numbers from Rob and understanding the timelines involved with the CCC and licensing officially once you have host agreements and stuff, we feel like it's right around that sweet spot of time when we'd even be able to get the necessary paperwork and stuff through. So it kind of aligns almost perfectly.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Thank you.
So Alex, just so you know, the information that you sent to us in email, I know that you talked to most of it, if not all of it, on the call, but we'll be attaching that as part of the meeting minutes as well. And if you could, just because we're required through our own regulations, through open meeting law, if you can send me, if you haven't, this presentation too that we can attach.
Yeah, I sent that to you yesterday morning. If you don't have it, I'll resend
Okay.
it. Just let me know, because I know with the emails it gets tricky with junk email and if it goes through as an attachment. So
The last thing I have from you is on Sunday.
okay, I'll resend it as soon as we get off the call here.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yep.
I'm just going to scan my email real quick just in case. I don't see it though.
No problem.
The other thing too, I have a question. Rob, you were talking about this and it just kind of popped in my mind. So with this being under Cultivate, you made a comment that you already have 3 active licenses, right,
Correct.
within the state. So this sounds like this would be number 4. How is that happening?
So we will not own or manage or direct any of the operations. So Exit 10 will be the licensee. There's no restrictions on licensing the name in the state. So we can do that multiple times. I've talked to the commission about this and they do not have a problem with it. So again, we're there as a brand and basically like the Dunkin' Donuts, we're a sign out front that provides the experience, but we don't own any of the company itself. And that's the criteria for the 3 licenses, that you cannot own or direct more than 3 licenses.
Okay, but you can get revenue from those engagements.
Right, and our primary reason, obviously, in addition to helping out retailers in the state, because this will not be the only one that we do, is to provide wholesale. I mean, that we become really a wholesaler in the industry, and that's where we'll be able to provide our wholesale to them.
Okay, great. Thank
If that
you.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yep, it does. Any other questions? Okay, I don't see any. So guys, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming back and certainly the time you took to answer the questions and provide the presentation too. So many thanks. And I'm sure you heard when we ended with the last applicant, we have at our next meeting, we expect to review just collectively and vote on who we would recommend to go forth to the select board. So I'll be in touch with you afterwards.
Renee, just a quick question for you and the group. I don't know if this is something that changes anything, quite honestly, but is there any stipulation or is there any, I know that everything was kind of contingent on a layover district. When you decide on your host community agreement, will there be any different protocol for an applicant that's already in a pre-zone use in industrial?
Only if at our town meeting on next Saturday that our overlay fails, our bylaw proposal fails. I mean, then we can only look at folks who are in the industrial zoned areas.
Okay, great. Thank you for the clarification.
Sure. And I'm going to keep my fingers crossed because this is a reschedule too, that we don't have bad weather on Saturday again, and we finally get to present this to the town and hopefully get their approval.
I think it's supposed to be beautiful Saturday, so.
Next Saturday, not in 2 days.
Oh, all right, because I keep
9 days.
I was gonna say, wow, you have a forecast out that, an accurate forecast out that far. I'm impressed.
No, but believe it or not, you'd be surprised how much weather impacts my business. So we keep a pretty steady eye on it.
Next Saturday, partly cloudy, 64 degrees. Sounds good.
It does sound good.
Not as good as I anticipated this Saturday. I think this Saturday's in the 70s, but.
Yeah.
Again, we're going to keep our fingers crossed. So,
Good
okay.
luck.
Anything else?
No, thank you so much for the time. And if
Thank
there's
you.
any questions that come up in the meantime, please don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Great. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it. Have a
Thank
nice
you.
night. Thank you. Okay, give me 1 second here.
Renee, if you didn't find it, that presentation was attached in his email from yesterday.
I don't have an
10/7.
email from yesterday.
Wait a second. No, I think I'm going crazy.
Yesterday was,
It
Not
went to your,
Tuesday.
it went to your Norton Mass, it went to your Norton email.
yeah, I'm looking in there now. I don't have anything from Alex.
Okay, I can forward it to you too. I have
Okay.
it.
Actually, did it go to the whole group?
It went to me, you, and Yasu Keys.
Okay. Could you, you know what, you don't have the distribution group. Yeah, if you can send that to me and then I'll send it around to everybody.
Okay.
That's weird. I mean, it's not weird. It's not the first time, but since I got his other emails, it's usually just Joe Beata I don't get emails from. Okay. Any immediate discussion on the two follow-up discussions or presentations that we wanted to go through? No?
I thought they were both of them were very helpful. And, you know, just think that having the applicants present is very useful to us.
Yep, I agree. Okay, let me just make sure I have everybody in that needs to be in. Okay. Okay, so we are on to our last number 5, our last applicant, Team Green. Give me a second here to just flip over to my spreadsheet. Okay.
Renee, it's not sending to your Norton address. That's probably why.
No?
No. Yeah, let me see if I can find another method.
You look
But
like
it's
you have a
saying
little
it's,
halo around your head behind you.
I wish. It's saying phones, invalid address. So I don't know if it's a problem with the Norton emails again.
That means you
Nope, I just got it from
you or something.
Alex. I just got it from Alex and I have a list is from 7:40. Maybe are you sending from your Norton email?
No,
No? Okay, well,
we'll sort it out later. It's fine.
Yep, I'll shoot these out after our meeting.
Okay.
Okay. On to, let me just find my right file here. Okay, on to Team Green. So we'll kind of do what we did last time. I will go through just quickly as a review for the group, the sections and the questions under the sections, and then we can just have general discussion. So the first on the criteria checklist, let me move this so it doesn't look like I'm looking off screen, is under management and operations profile. So the questions read as number one, the business plan demonstrates market and financial feasibility, demonstrates an acceptable development timeline and ability to bring the proposed marijuana retailer to timely commencement, presents high quality security plan, presents high quality and well-formulated management and operations plans as it relates to personnel policies, establishes a comprehensive plan to prevent diversion of marijuana to minors and or the illegal market, presents high quality and well-formulated management and operations plans as it relates to marijuana storage, transportation, and on-site deliveries, both to and from the marijuana retailer and delivery to customers. Location appropriate for the proposed use given the scale and nature of the use, including but not limited to potential impacts on parking and queuing of customers. Presents high quality and well-formulated management and operations plans as it relates to record keeping and maintenance of financial records. Demonstrates prior knowledge and or experience in marijuana establishments, retail establishments, or regulated industries. Management and operations team demonstrates prior experience in commercial cannabis ventures or other related experience in relevant fields. Demonstrates knowledge and understanding of licensing procedures, and demonstrates well-developed training plans for employees. How's that for a refresher? And for Mike's benefit, who's driving. Okay, so I will open it up to comments or initial questions or discussion items. I'm not really opening up, but who wants to go first? I see Michael smiling back at me with his picture.
I think the first question with regards to their site control expiry date needs to be addressed adequately.
And that date is February right now, correct?
Yeah, next February.
Okay. Need the right keyboard here. And that's on the, is that an LOI, Laura?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So right now that is stated as February 2021, which just thinking about the process, not necessarily with the CCC, but the town. Paul, I'll kind of defer to you, but I think even if somebody started to go through the special permitting process right now, meeting a February 2021 date might be difficult.
Yeah, I think this, like a lot of the others, this is a solid application, but like a lot of the others, the timelines are a bit aggressive, and this one in particular, in the hope that in their application that they'll be done within a month is, I think it's probably more like 2 or 3. I could be wrong, but I'll just be consistent that this will be a new thing for the board to see, and I think whatever goes forward, they're going to take a good hard look at it.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, I mean, we're a bit delayed in our process. I know we were hoping to be done by the end of September to get this in front of the select board, right? And so I don't see us being done with this potentially until the end of October. And then I would imagine the select board's going to want some time to review and consider as well. And then we have, the negotiation process of the HCA's. So, okay. So I've documented that as a question. From the finances, I don't know if anyone else noticed this, but I thought it was kind of odd. And let me get down to the page. When they were listing the finances, there were two backers essentially that had $500,000. And I don't know if my math was off when I was reviewing this, so let me just take a look again.
Yeah, I was just noting that as well. It was like
The one,
We're
Yeah.
missing some information.
yeah.
so I'll share my screen and you tell me if this is what you were looking at too, because I when I looked at this, it gives a last balance, and then it gave deposits, and then somehow came up with a figure that doesn't quite add up when you look at these. Is that what you noticed, Denise?
Yeah, and I don't really know what that means. It says include posted items, only intraday items are not included in the counts. I don't quite know what that means.
So we should just get a clarification on that.
Yep.
Because that's
Yeah.
about, I missed that bit, but it's about what, 200,000? I'm not quite seeing it. That 800 in?
It's 400,000 off.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to look at it on the screen. I thought it was.
Oh, here, let me make it bigger.
But okay, so it's a 6. Okay.
Is that better, Paul?
Yeah, it's 500. Okay.
The available balance is good. It's just
Right, but I've never seen
doesn't
anything
really
like
say
this
how
on
you
a
get
statement.
there.
Well, that's one of
Right.
but both I believe they're sisters. Isn't that just they were both putting up $500,000 each? That
Yeah.
was what I
Mhm.
understood. So is
Yeah,
this?
so
Oh, I see. You're just saying.
you're right, Paul. This is one.
Yeah.
Right, like I don't know how they got to this available balance, because, and I was trying to see it, like almost, I got to tell you, almost what this looks like is that somebody overlaid, they typed it up and they overlaid it onto this and saved it as a PDF.
That's possible.
And then this one's a little bit like, and you can, I'm just saying that, like, I can't get the lines going. And this one, at first I was like, oh, 500,000, but then you can
Yeah,
actually
but
see
if
the
you
credit,
note,
the
there's no
transfer of
date.
the
It still
money.
says processing.
Okay.
So that could have been rejected.
Okay, so we'll get clarification on both.
Sure.
I lost my mouse.
And my assumption is that because the Rusido family owns this property, my assumption is they may be part of that family and part owner of the land. I should point out, again, I don't think what I'm going to say has much bearing on this, but this site is also, we had received a 40B application for 60 units, 15 of which would be affordable, but that project is on hold until we know where this project, how it ends up going. That makes its way all the way
And
through.
is it, I'm sorry, Paul, there's a little delay. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, what's your question, Renee?
I was just going to ask, is it on hold from the applicant, or is it on hold from the planning board?
The applicant.
Okay.
The applicant. And the 40Bs go to the ZBA.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So, I mean, shouldn't have any bearing on this. It's just some background.
Yeah, I did note that this does appear to be, looking at the letter of intent, there is some landlord financing that appears to be occurring. The landlord the property management is owned by Rashido Brothers LLC. And I note that the two of the managers in this entity, Team Green, are Rashido.
Yeah.
And so I have a concern with regards to them being a economic empowerment equity or economic empowerment, yeah, applicant or participant. Right now, there's a requirement by the CCC that the person who qualifies for that economic empowerment license has majority ownership. And right now it states that Jody is 51% owner. However, the CCC is currently contemplating getting rid of or reducing that majority ownership rule. So I have a question as to one, if they do change that rule, will Jody be offering them a larger percentage? And I would also like to know what kind of, what role the managers that own 49% of this entity will be playing in this day-to-day business. They're not cited anywhere here within the application, no prior experience. Were they just put in here because they're women and they can call this a woman-owned company?
Mm-hmm. The other thing I noticed, Laura, in addition to that, is on the letter of commitment for the funds. It notes near like the third paragraph from the bottom that definitive loan documents between one of the Rusitos and Team Green would be executed, after a provisional license from the CCC. So I don't know if that's an issue. I just, I thought it was, this money was there and it's funded and there to use, but then it looks like there's some additional work on actually having loans drafted or prepared.
Yeah, my only concern is that if the percentage of ownership increases so that the Rushito managers are now controlling a larger percentage or the majority of this and have basically control of the organization, that's not with whom we are dealing with right now, and that's not with whom the town is going to be entering into an HCA. So I just have a concern that, things that were promised within this application may not be adhered to in the case of a change of ownership. Because there are some very nice benefits. She's got quite a few bells and whistles in here that I really like.
Is that in respect to like community impact?
Yeah.
That would be part of the HCA?
Yeah, even just things with regards to employee benefits. There were quite a few things in there with the microloans. They were offering profit sharing, which we haven't seen that yet. And not only was it profit sharing, but it was compliance-based goals as opposed to sales goals, which from, the town's perspective, I think that's even better. And just even the things that they were offering the community with regards to the veterans and senior support. The microloans can be paid back in community service. They've already offered 100 hours of community service. Quite a bit was offered here. So they appear to be they would be a good employer for the town and a good partner with the town.
Laura, when a few months back, Renee and I met with the applicant, and we spent a lot of time, actually. She asked us a lot of questions about the different community groups. It was a lot about how she wanted to help different organizations here. In fact, Renee connected her to a few of the groups that she's mentioned. So, yeah, I agree. That was, it was, I think, a positive that there was so much focus on how that money would be reinvested back in the town.
Yeah.
And I think, Laura, too, like I wonder how much, not worry that we have to think about that, or relevance, but if we enter into the HCA with Team Green and there's a change of ownership, right? There's a process there that I believe, I can't remember how we wrote it in the bylaw, but obviously if it changes to another organization, another HCA would have to be agreed upon, right? Entered in and agreed upon. But the HCA would still need to be honored. So those items that you mentioned would be outlined within that agreement. So I don't
Some
know
of them,
if the
not all of
change-
them. There's not going to be anything with regards to the employment and childcare, microloans, the things impacting specifically the town in a monetary capacity. Yes, those are going to be documented, but it's more of the some
The
of the
nice to haves.
the intangibles. And I would hate to recommend this application, find out it was, I don't want to call it false pretenses, but have that go away.
Mhm.
That's my concern. It's a question that I would just like to ask. If the CCC does reduce the equity empowerment participants' ownership stake in the company, does this change?
So I'm just typing the question. And you want just to provide examples if it impacts the benefits offered, including profit sharing.
Well, in general, unfortunately, you can only negotiate with Jody at this point. She's the majority owner. She can tell you, yes, she'll keep the profit sharing and she'll keep the microloans, but once she no longer has control of this company, nobody's required to.
So is that a question for her? Is that just a note for the commission or the committee?
No, that is a question I want to know. If the CCC changes the regs, will she reduce her ownership equity or ownership in this company?
Should we follow up though with town council about this question? Going forward, I mean, that could be applicable to any of the 5. Well, I guess some are family, but they could sell. I guess in that case, though, once that happens, then it's.
And we're entering into a new agreement and.
Yeah, the new special permit and all that. Okay, yeah, because she's kind of this one's the unique one in that regard.
Yeah, I had a question. I think and correct me, Paul, if I'm wrong, but that the zone that they're in right now is retail. It's not industrial, right?
Correct. It's commercial. Yeah.
Commercial, yeah.
Yeah.
So
the ones in this area are all commercial. The 2 over on the eastern side are industrial.
So I don't see in their timeline the built-in has to, that it needs to pass at town meeting first. And it also seems to imply in the page where it has the drawing of the actual building itself. What number is this? Page 16. The first sentence says, the facility, existing vacant structure, which is properly zoned for our proposed retailer. So I don't know if it's just a misunderstanding that they don't realize that it's not.
There's a couple references, even I think in the intro letter, right? There are some references there that aren't really the case right now. Like maybe after it's approved at town meeting, yes, but they reference the overlay a couple times in that this is in a qualified commercial area, but commercial is not an approved area as of this point in the so they're referring to it as if the bylaw passed, which yippee if it does, great. There's some insight into the future that we don't. That's fantastic. But no, I as soon as I read the first page, that was my take. And there were some other things in there too about saying that the planning board was going to decide how many special permits there were, and we specifically talked to the planning board about that will not be the case because that was their concern as well.
It will come from the Board of Selectmen, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that I guess it's more of a comment just to make sure that they're clear that it needs to go through the town meeting first before it is properly zoned.
They also made reference to off-site parking and shuttling. So off-site parking of employees and shuttling potential customers. One of the questions I had is where is this off-site parking?
Okay, one second, Laura.
Yeah, and do they have, would they have a contract or arrangement to do that?
Okay, anything more on that one?
No, just in case one of you guys picked it up and I missed it, but they're planning to use this entire building?
No,
No,
They're-
no.
No,
they're going to be one of 5 or one of 6
Yeah,
I think
there's,
it said,
tenants.
it said what, like 5,700 square feet, I think, and the building's like 27 based on that map.
Where do
Okay.
they plan on going? Do you know, Paul?
sorry, Mike, what was that?
Where do they plan on locating in that building? Do you know?
I think it might be the old gym, but it didn't
It didn't.
clearly state where but the gym is no longer there. So it's possibly that site.
I had that question too, especially with the way that they're like how the diagram was, right? It had directly attached like their loading. I don't know if it said loading dock or just delivery area.
Yeah.
So I was lucky enough to have Alberto's tonight. So as I was driving past there, I did see some doors on the, like if you're facing it on the left side, but I think that was one of my questions for clarification is where exactly in the building are they going and where is that delivery area going to be? Did anyone else see anything that noted?
No, I've
Okay.
just got it as it's about a 5,700 square foot.
Yeah, I would have thought on that site plan, they would have indicated where they were going in that building.
Yeah.
I have some reservations about the number of parking spaces combined with the number of tenants. And
I got to tell you,
they've clearly addressed
Sorry,
it
what?
too, because they've made numerous references to employees potentially parking off site and then having shuttle of customers. So
And how many spaces did they say that they had
81.
available?
and that's shared.
That feels to me like it's
That's shared with
entire-
everybody. They did a breakdown
Okay.
of what they felt was going. Literally, there's like 5 parking spaces left over with how they've calculated it.
After
Yeah.
their use, I must have missed this,
So,
or it didn't resonate.
so they'll be the 5th proposed tenant. Says they did an analysis that says 29 spaces are required for retail marijuana, which that seems sort of low. 4 existing tenants require 47 spaces. That leaves 4 left.
Yeah, they get close, but again, that's going to be looked at through the special permit.
Paul, I just had a question for you.
Yeah.
So they're basing their parking on the uses that are there now, like industrial. Obviously, the parking doesn't have to be as great. What triggers site plan? I mean, if that industrial space all of a sudden becomes a gym, you would not have a site plan on that if it's under the square footage threshold, right?
In that case, it's a change of use, and that could have triggered a review for the parking there.
Okay.
But as this already has to go through the planning board, and our zoning bylaw does not have a use for marijuana for parking or traffic, so we'd have to.
I'm just thinking of the future. If they go in there now and then one of the uses changes to something that requires more parking in the future.
Yeah.
Like the catering becomes a retail.
So building commissioner would go in, have to determine if that was a significant change of use. If that happens, then they have to file a site plan. And at that point, then they'd be subject to traffic and parking impacts of the change in use. So we might have to. And that actually may happen with Blue Star. Right? We have to look at that even though that project's been approved, now there'll have to be a determination if the parking that was approved, a year and a half ago is sufficient.
So, Paul, can you just, for clarity, run us through, assuming this applicant went forward, they went to special permit, and then they decided there wasn't ample parking for this, then what happens?
Well, they would try to have to find on site if there was a way of manipulating the space on site to add spaces. That would probably be one way to go. They could reduce the square footage of the site or the retail. There's ways of reducing the square footage, which could reduce the parking. Or if they were able to find an off-site option, but that would mean they'd have to have a contract with the property owner, and it'd have to be within a close distance. It'd have to be, within it. Safety matters. So in a place with a road like Mansfield, it'd have to be on the same side. And I'm trying to think that there's no sidewalk here either, is there? You wouldn't do it.
It's all across the street.
You can't cross. No, you wouldn't be. We wouldn't. No, it has to be a safe crossing. If there's no light around there.
Mm-mm.
If there was a lighted intersection, yes, but there's not. So we would not be advocating people parking and crossing Mansfield. And you would say it's very unlikely without sidewalks there that you would even want someone walking in the shoulder with no sidewalk. That would be, I think, dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, that area, people are coming off the highway and they're flying, and it goes from, how many lanes down to the 2 lanes.
It's exactly the spot where it just drops down to the single lane.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a fast speed there. I mean, cars are doing 45, 50 miles an hour there. So they'll have to look closely at that. Parking is always a big issue. The few times I've been out to that site, I've not seen that remotely close to full. So they'll need to justify that they'll have sufficient parking spaces.
Yeah, I mean, I've been there.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Paul.
Well, these are primarily industrial uses. There's a catering company, which again, that's not a big traffic generator or parking generator. But they would need to demonstrate what their existing parking is now. They have to put that in a study.
I mean, I can tell you when I go for the hub parkour, and there's a class. I mean, they're running 2 classes at a time now, and each class can have like 10 to 15 kids in it. So there have been times I parked all the way like up towards the entrance.
Yeah.
I mean, the parking's full.
Okay.
Forget about Alberto's overflowing into there.
Right. Well, I know, they put that fence up so it didn't happen, but it still does. I mean, right now too, think about it, right? We're in a COVID environment. There aren't many people who are going to Alberto's. There are people who have stopped going to parkour. So you really have less anyway right now.
Yeah.
But pre-COVID, it
right.
would be pretty jammed.
You wouldn't do your parking or traffic studies based on what's gone on in 2020.
Right.
You'd have to count on 2019 as best available data because 2020 is out. It's an outlier. The conditions are the traffic conditions are much better.
Right.
That's the way of looking at it, but you can't count traffic data on anything that's gone on since March.
And the 55 plus that application is just sitting there.
I'm sorry?
The 55 plus, the condo expansion there, that's on hold. I mean, it just was, they didn't do anything with that application yet.
No, they had an introductory meeting with the Zoning Board of Appeals, but then when this came forward, they put it on hold. So again, the game plan is if this goes forward and they get all the way to getting their permits issued, then the 40B doesn't happen. If this doesn't make its way or at some point it gets stopped, then they would probably bring the 40B back.
I've been in this location. I've been in this spot for CrossFit, and I've taken it before when CrossFit was there. There's in a full CrossFit class, there was no parking. And that wasn't even much. It was probably 10, 15 people. You add that, what Renee said at the company there. I mean, this is a very small spot.
And I have the hiccups, I'm sorry.
Yeah, again,
And as I don't know, like, I guess the question I have is, right, I mean, is that for them to give us a proposal to that? I mean, I'm not on the planning board, but out of all this is the one that the parking concerns, I worry about parking on this spot more than any other. And it's not my place. I just look at the regular application and just say, okay, the social equity stuff's great, but.
Well, we should ask the applicant to try to address it. What are they anticipating?
I think it's social equity. Yeah.
Even just the location on the road in particular. So taking into account the solar therapeutics one, we have a similar situation with it in terms of traffic and related area. I still feel a little bit better about that because I figure most people are going to be coming from off the highway and it's a right in. Getting out may be a challenge, but unfortunately where this particular location is, where it's coming down from the single lane or from the 2 lanes into a single lane, you're competing with Alberto's, you're competing with the 4 other tenants in that building, you're competing with the trailer park, and you're competing with the Cumberland Farms, all in that tiny, tiny little area.
Unless they've already started a conversation with the highway, with the Department of Transportation, the highway, I would be hard pressed because you need a crosswalk there. Otherwise, we are going to have post-COVID, the first concert when this thing is open, someone's going to get hit without a crosswalk there.
I mean, I actually
from
think
Xfinity.
I see it as more as being a parking lot.
But I mean, this is a decades-long problem, right? It's I would say I agree with Laura on that, but I would also say we have concerns about the 40B, that putting residential in this location creates another series of problems. People when we presented, when the applicant presented the 40B, there were people saying they can't even turn into their next door properties. So
yeah, I mean,
the site's got challenge. This whole area has challenges related to traffic, but it's certainly a good commercial area. It's prominent, but I haven't made up my mind of the 3 in this area, which one or 2 would be the best. They all have their
charms.
I think the thing that we need to remember is we're evaluating them. I mean, it's specific on this one. We talk about the location appropriate for the proposed use given the scale and nature of the use, including but not limited potential impacts on parking and queuing of customers, right? So while the location is great and the proposed location by solar is great, the difference here is that they don't have the parking and they don't have the parking dedicated, which means people might be parking across the street and trying to get across. I mean, there are many different things that can happen if people can't go in. And it's like, in that respect, this is an area that we are ranking them on.
Yeah.
And
I would like to hear them talk about that. Yeah, I don't think we have enough information. I mean, it certainly appears to be that and its solar could have parking issues. But I think we should.
I think solar had like 3 times the amount of spaces though, didn't they? Like 20. If these guys are looking at the 20 that they would
Solar
have.
has 75.
I was gonna say, I think Solar's had the most out of everyone we've seen so far.
Well, no, Lucky Green Ladies has the most, but Solar Therapeutics has 75 dedicated.
Yeah.
I still don't want somebody walking across from McDonald's to Dunkin's or McDonald's to Lucky Green Ladies or anything else. That parking lot's crazy too. But okay, so the question, Paul, please explain how you are planning to address the limitations in parking spaces.
What options do you have available? I mean, they should be able to tell us that.
Okay.
Also, sort of related to, I had forgotten that they were actually a 40B applicant as well, and that actually raises an even bigger concern with me with regards to their deadline on their letter of intent, their site control. Are they really willing to put a 40B application on hold for potentially 18 months?
Well, you know, I can't answer that, but they are putting it on hold for now.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's an applicant question versus just, let's talk
Yeah.
about them getting the site, the site control date, right?
Right. I'm just concerned that, yeah, so they don't get an extension to their letter of intent. Oh, they can't, in which case I don't view them as a viable option at this point.
So do you want a question in there about what impact will the landlord's proposed second use for this property have on an extension in the LOI?
Yeah, we need a revised letter of intent with a more feasible date in it for this to be viable.
Okay.
Otherwise, I would not recommend it.
I'm just going to put in here that we specifically discuss the other specifically have concerns. Okay, so I put in here, we specifically have concerns given the second use of landlord has already presented to the town. Is that fair and accurate?
Could you repeat that, Renee, please?
I put on here a revised letter of intent with a more feasible date
Yeah.
on it for this to be viable. And then I just referenced, we specifically have concerns given the second use the landlord has already presented to the town for this property.
Well, I don't know. I don't know, cautious about that. I mean, unless we need to hear from the owner to say, I'm fully committed to this. I mean, if that's what you're wanting, I guess, because that's not in the applicant's control.
I want a revised letter of intent
To,
with a
I
date
was just
showing
providing
longer site
context to
control.
them, right?
yeah, sure.
I was providing context, but I
Yeah.
don't have to put that in there. I mean, they can watch the meeting and see what the discussion was. Okay. I'm just going to take a look here. Okay, so we talked about the financial feasibility. Anything more on the timeline? I know we all felt it was aggressive. Any question to them?
It was complete. It's just aggressive.
Yeah.
Okay, but no questions, no follow-up questions?
Kind of they're
Like
in the
heads
same
up.
category as everybody else, trying
Right.
to estimate how long things take.
Right. I mean, this one, compared to a tear down and rebuild shouldn't take as long, but it's really quick.
Okay.
It was thorough.
Yeah. Yeah. Thought it was like most of the applicants, they are also aligning with another company that seems to have a lot of experience in cannabis in Massachusetts. So they too have one of the early pioneers in opening stores.
Yeah, with a couple of cultivation sites.
Yeah.
Anything in respect to the management or operations plans based on the personnel policies?
No
Anything
issues.
on, I'm sorry, no issues?
Sorry,
Is that-
no issues.
There's the item on here, the high quality security plan, which I know that's going to come more from the chief and Paul and Mike's review separately. I saw they have already sought, I think they're the ones that had the quote in there, right, from a security company on both the hardware that they would need as well as long-term monitoring.
Yes, they did at the very end.
Mm-hmm.
Reading the chief's email, I mean, whoever goes forward really needs to coordinate, because I know one thing I think I want to make sure we're clear on in this application was, I remember reading, and I don't remember where, but that they would report an incident within 24 hours. Am I mistaken?
I thought that was another applicant.
Was it? But the chief was clear. He wants an incident report filed immediately.
So just for you guys to have background, I reached out to Chief Clark about attending this meeting because we had on here, the discussion with the advisors. I have to follow up on what he sent me back, which is why he's not coming to this meeting, because he had provided kind of like a recommendations from the Norton Police Department of things that were in excess of what's required under the CCC. The problem is that he sent it to us, but we don't see the plan, so we can't evaluate that. So I just need to go back to him to let him know that we need his opinion and to opine on who, if everybody is meeting what they should meet through the regulations, and then if he sees major gaps with the recommendations that he wants here locally. So I'd like his opinion on that. I'll allow him to, if he responds via email, I'll send it out to everyone, but I'd prefer that he comes just for a quick chat. But since we didn't have our next meeting date, I couldn't follow up with him to say, hey, can you just come and talk to us? So there's some more follow-up there. I think what we may have to do as part of that, when we look at, and I didn't look at the recommendations completely, I just saw like that, he put something in there about, I think high definition CCTV cameras or something. But what we'll have to do is determine if we want to send this back out to applicants and have them respond to it on whether or not they would be able to meet those, or if there's any conflicts, or we can push that forward as part of the HCA and modify the HCA that they have to agree to the Norton Police Department additional recommendations. So we can talk about that, but I'd like us to have the conversation with the chief first.
Okay.
But I don't think he, I don't know that he knows. I mean, Paul, Mike, you guys might know this, but I don't know that he knows that we haven't seen those detailed plans. So, we can't really form an opinion on it. We're looking for his opinion.
I'm not aware if he knows that.
Okay. So I'll shoot him back a note or give him a call early next week or tomorrow if we decide on the date for our next meeting. Okay, so I didn't see, just from that, I didn't see any immediate issues. I thought the fact that they went out to a vendor already and they had to review the plans just to get, an idea of what it would cost for the installation. Anything specific to the prevention or diversion of marijuana to minors above and beyond what's required from the state? No concerns? Okay. I can't get my spreadsheet to move. Do you guys want to talk a little bit about the prior knowledge and experience in marijuana establishments, retail establishments, or regulated industries? I think this one, the applicant recently was granted a provisional license in Boston. If I remember correctly, Paul, that was actually, she was supposed to get that license, I think, the day after we met with her.
Yeah, and again, the company that she's partnering with, and in looking at her retail background, I know she mentioned that when she was meeting with us, she had operated a nightclub in Boston for many years and then moved it to Randolph. So she does seem to have quite a bit of retail experience, and this other company has the marijuana experience.
Right, and the fact that it's a regulated industry too, which I thought was, I don't think we have many outside of those who are already in the marijuana
Yeah.
industry.
And then she listed as one of the partners, the person who helped draft the marijuana language that ultimately got passed in the state
Mm-hmm.
on the team, an attorney.
Was that a partner?
I'm not sure. That's why I was hesitating. I shouldn't say, but
It's not
it
a
was
partner, it was
not a
just, I'm sure, hired expertise.
yeah.
No different than Exit 10.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm seeing it on page 12.
So I don't know how I missed this, but my mouse just landed on page 46. And all I read was an internationally known Grammy Award winner, music producer, and I thought I was in the wrong document. I do not remember reading this. It's under qualifications of close associates.
He's their IT guy.
Yeah, that's where I am too. And I only see this gentleman and Jody talked about in this section. I don't see the
Yeah,
other two ladies.
The
that
managers are not mentioned at all. I would really like to know what their involvement
Okay.
is day to day.
Where's my mouse? I don't know how I totally missed that. But it's funny that my mouse landed there.
I saw it too. I was like, what kind of expertise is a Grammy Award music producer going to provide?
Well, yeah, he's social media and IT, so
Yeah.
I want to go in there and that sound quality better be exceptional.
Yeah. Audio, visual technology, digital marketing, event logistics.
yeah.
It was funny because when I read it initially, I was on vacation and I meant to go to iTunes to see if I could pull something up, and I forgot about it.
And so what question do we want on here? Just provide more qualifications? Who are we specifically missing title-wise?
I thought you were going to say what music has he produced.
Hey, she might find that.
Yeah, who actually is, who would be, I mean, Jody is the majority owner. What about the management? Does that mean overseeing it, actually managing day to day? It didn't really identify who.
So on the LLC, I thought it listed.
It's 3 of them. So the Rashidos are the managers, is how they've been described. And they combined own 49%.
Okay.
But that's the only place that they're mentioned. There's no, like
Yeah,
I said, I want to know what their day-to-day
Yeah, I didn't
involvement is.
see what their role was.
I think they just get 49% for tossing in all of the money.
Yeah, I mean, are they just primarily the financiers of it? And that's fine. I just,
But then why would they be listed as managers, right?
Well,
I gotta find that section.
you get 49% of a company, you need to be called something.
Okay.
I just really want to know what Denise was thinking when you said that, because all of a sudden her face lit up in a smile. You called something Denise?
I think Denise is multitasking,
Okay, fair enough.
perhaps.
yeah, so if we can get clarification on that, on the management of operations.
Okay, I have that one listed. We had the last two questions were about knowledge and understanding of licensing procedures, which I think that was clearly articulated in here, and then the well-developed training plans for employees. And I don't have notes on that for some reason myself. Were there any issues that you guys noted? Because I didn't take notes, so I'm thinking I didn't either. Or record notes. Okay. Any other questions on the management or operations? Okay, the next section is on the plan for positive community impact. So I'll just review those. There are 5. Demonstrates a well-developed plan for ensuring the protection of public health. Demonstrates a well-developed community outreach plan. Demonstrates a well-developed proposal for full and part-time employment and anticipated benefits packages for employees. Made financial commitments and other proposals for positive community impact, and demonstrates a well-developed proposal for environmental sustainability and sourcing of retail products and within the overall operation of the marijuana retailer. Those are the individual categories. Comments, concerns, or questions to go back to the applicant?
They actually, this particular package scored the highest in these categories than any of the others.
And can you provide insight into that?
Sure. So the first thing that stood out to me was I've already talked about it, the profit sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else is offering it. Microloans, subsidized healthcare or childcare, excuse me. They've offered to the town minimum of $10,000 or 2% gross revenue to veterans and senior support. The fact that they offered to match any other RFI applicant was also a nice thing to toss in there. The microloans offered to employees can be paid back with Norton Community Service. They offered up 100 hours of volunteering by their staff. They offered 2 seminars per year in helping employees and or prospective employees and other members of the town stealing their quarry records so that they can get jobs in this industry. $25,000 per year for substance abuse mental health programs. They were offering a seniors and at-risk shopping hour, which was a nice to have. Within their training program, I also like they have a whistleblower policy, which I liked. So there.
Yeah.
Was there, out of the jobs that they were looking to create, was there any sort of
commitment to Norton?
Yes, other than just the job fair in town?
Aspire to just the job. Just the job fair.
Okay.
15 to 25 full-time and part-time employees. Starting salary $15 an hour. There were commitments to diversity. Medical and dental were offered. No retirement plan, but profit sharing and other bennies and incentives were in there.
Hey, how did you guys feel? I know we didn't talk about this, about their projections, their revenue projections.
They are
because I thought that they were
they're right in the middle.
Okay, I felt like they were on the lower end, but I only thought that when I got down to the 3% of gross sales part.
They were the ones, they actually did not do any projections for daily number of customers, but they gave us revenue projections. So when I took out I did a average spend per customer across everybody's estimates, came up with a $72 average on the low end, and it just extrapolated out in the first year revenue, and it's coming out to about 240 customers a day for 6 million in revenue. Jumps to 8 million, almost 9 million in revenue after year 5. Seemed reasonable.
Anyone else do that intense, detailed calculation? Thank you, Laura.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other comments on this section? Any information that we wanted to note or ask of the applicant? If you're nodding, I didn't see it because I was looking at I was flipping through to see if I made any notes within the document. Okay. So the last section, is it it's not the last, it's almost the last. These were the other items that weren't specifically asked for in the RFI. So I think we've already talked about this. The location appropriate for proposed use given the scale and nature, including but not limited to the potential impacts on traffic. Addresses the potential detrimental municipal impacts and proposed acceptable mitigation measures. I think that, I think the municipal impact here specifically is with the parking and the traffic of this particular location. So I think that'll be further discussed in whatever plans they have for mitigation at the when they come back to us. And then the other one that we love so much, proposal integrates into the overall goals of the town of Norton, which I feel it met those. Any comments or concerns on those items or questions we want to bring back? Okay, and the last one, just to note that this, as we've talked about, is a qualified social equity applicant under the Economic Empowerment program. Okay, any last comments or questions? I have documented 8 that I'll go back to the applicant on for further clarification and discussion at our next meeting. Okay, if there's nothing else. So I talked briefly about the advisors. So when we think about the next meeting, like I mentioned, I'm going to have a conversation with the chief on his input and what we've seen or maybe better yet what he's reviewed. And we'll hopefully get him to the meeting. Is there anybody else that we wanted to hear from? Anyone in respect to like the potential issues with parking at this last location that we want to hear from? I don't know if like the building commissioner would weigh in on that or not.
No, that wouldn't be in his purview.
Yeah. Okay.
No, again, unfortunately, I mean, I realize we want to get to that, but there has to be a study done.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly some sites are much more suited for parking than others, but these others, I think at this point, we'd really like to hear where are they in that? Because again, if this is a problem throughout Norton, because of our lack of on-street parking in our commercial areas, it's what do you do if you don't have enough parking on a site? There's very limited options. So, but I just need to see, we would need a study to show, based on current conditions, how many more spaces could be absorbed and what would this be generating?
Right.
And I just don't know. I mean, they may be okay, but it could be a tight fit, but maybe they fall under it. And and this one in particular, I mean, unless you're, shared, there's a residence to the north of this area, so you're not going to get shared parking there probably. And unless Alberto's does, I'd be really cautious about anyone walking that stretch. But hopefully, maybe they can show that they can get people there.
Okay. I'm trying to find an email from Chief Simmons because we had some conversations. I don't believe, and unless anybody does want him to come, I don't believe that we would need to discuss with him. In his email response to me, I'm going to paraphrase because I can't find his email response. He had indicated, really their role in this is just to make sure that once his properties go in, that they meet the requirements that they're supposed to. So I don't know if you guys feel like we need to have him answer any specific questions.
So, so the fire department will definitely play a role during the special permitting process because there's a few things they're looking at. They're going to look at making sure that their vehicles have access to the building. Typically, they like to have a truck to be able to go around a site. In fact, that's come up with this on the 40B, and that's a pretty common thing. They'll look at things like the hydrant. They'll look at putting what they call a Knox box on, which is if there's an emergency, the police or fire can access the key to the building from the Knox box. They'll also look at when it gets to the building permitting stage, they'll look at need for sprinklers and other, making sure that in addition to meeting building code requirements, there are fire code requirements that any commercial development needs to meet.
And I mean, Paul, like with the majority of these guys, they're going into existing structures, right? Or existing properties. So, I mean, I wouldn't see any immediate concerns for us, right, in recommending this beyond. But again, if you guys want to have a conversation with Chief Simmons on any particular property, based on what Paul said, I can get him on our next meeting.
Yeah, we can, if you want to talk to the chief. If not, again, they'll certainly have their reviews of it later on.
Right. And that's what he said. So, and that's why I'm putting it out there. If we think it would make a difference in our recommendations, I'll get him here. If not, then I don't know that we need to ask him to attend. Okay, so I'll assume that's a no. Anyone else that we would want to hear from? I don't think so, but again, opening it up. Okay. So the other thing I wanted to bring up before we go to talk about the next meeting is I received an email. Let's see if I can find this email, because I received an email last night from Robert Rosen with Rosenbuds, and he had requested, he reviewed the meetings online and he didn't feel like the written application has given them a fair chance, and requested a meeting in person to represent their brand and family values. So I wanted to put it out to the group because we did decide not to bring them back for further questions based on their application.
Renee, could you repeat what the written application didn't what?
He said he had an opportunity to review meetings online and he didn't feel a written application has really given them a fair chance. He said meeting in person represents our brand and family values. So I didn't see the email until at some point this morning. So I figured we could have the conversation here.
I think we've had the discussion. I think we've had the discussion on a couple instances where we've said they had their opportunity to submit it. I mean, part of me wants to do it just because I thought their application wasn't up to snuff, but I don't think that's fair within an RFI process.
I mean, the written application is.
That is
the written
your chance.
application.
That's your chance.
That's your chance, right? I mean, to put it together into 50 separate documents and just to drop it into I didn't think.
I mean,
Michael,
we're asking.
I would tend to say no, Renee.
Okay. We've asked other applicants clarification questions, but theirs is beyond, to me, it's beyond a clarification question.
Agreed, Paul.
And they had their chance to
Okay.
talk about. Yeah.
No, I'm fine with that. I just, I received an email, so I want to go back out to the subcommittee.
Renee, I
to
would
ask.
definitely take a vote on that issue, though. Just because, just for,
Yeah.
just, yeah.
Just, I mean, we had, again, we have, I agree with you, Michael, but we have the ability to recommend whomever we want to recommend. I mean, there's, I think that
I
we've been
agree
a
with
pretty
you.
thorough
I agree with you, but sometimes procedure.
No, I know.
Sometimes procedure.
Yeah, give me a second here. I just got to write down everybody's initials, so I remember. Who do we have? Massini is on. Okay. Okay, so the chair will entertain a motion to request that Rosenbuds come before the subcommittee for additional presentation and discussion.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
So Laura,
All motions.
so let me explain this. So we are, all motions will be in the affirmative, and we would vote no if we did not agree with it. But this is to move the
Got it.
motion. So I just need a
I
second.
said second.
Thank you, Sandy. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Okay, so Paul,
No.
I'll take a roll call vote. Paul was no. Laura?
No.
Sandy?
No.
Denise?
No.
Oh, there, she's flying over the building.
I was looking to see if I was on mute or not.
Michael?
No.
Mike?
No.
Mike Massini?
Yes.
Yes to have them back?
Correct.
Okay, who did we just lose? Michael Toole. Okay, well, we got him first, and I'm also going to vote no. So that will not move forward with
And
7
Anthony's,
no's and 1 yes.
Anthony, I
Anthony's
think, had to
gone
leave
too,
at
right?
8, yeah.
oh,
Okay, I just have to watch for Michael to come back in. I think he got excited with Denise's. Okay, so let me just. So I have 7-1 on that. Okay, thank you guys. I'm assuming Michael's going to come back in, but we can talk about the schedule. If anybody sees him, please yell at me if you see him pop in. Okay, so for our next meeting, we did not have a meeting on here, or a meeting noted. I put down potentially next Wednesday, the 14th, or Thursday, October 22nd, both at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, I can't do the 14th of ZBA.
I can't either. It's Joe's birthday, and it's his 50th.
Ooh. Okay. It's funny. I asked Lucia to post an agenda today because I didn't know if Monday was like an actual holiday. So I'm like, let me at least get it out there
Yeah,
because I didn't want to miss it. Is it okay?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So I'll
the other
cancel
day-
that. And then what about Thursday, the 22nd? Unless there's another day, if you guys want to do earlier, but Tuesday, because Monday's a holiday, we don't have. I would have had to post yesterday, I think. So
I can do the 22nd.
Okay.
I can do the 22nd.
I can't do the 22nd.
I'm okay with the 22nd. Are we okay on Thursdays? Why are we doing Thursdays?
I think I just picked it because Paul's had conflicts.
Okay.
And so that's the opposite board meeting. We can look at Wednesday, the
I was gonna
21st.
say, I have us down as the 20, well, in our normal cadence,
Well,
yeah.
not all-
I
know
have it
that.
on my calendar as the 21st, so.
I can do either one.
The 21st.
Yep, Wednesday, the 21st.
We-
And again, this is, I'd prefer we're all there because this is final review and vote.
I can do the 21st as well.
Renee.
Yeah, the 21st is fine.
apologize. I was bumped off.
I know, Michael, we saw that. We thought you just got really excited with, Denise.
That's how I should.
So We were just talking about the next meeting date. There are a couple of people who can't meet on Wednesday, October 14th. So I threw out the 22nd, and then we were also just talking about the 21st, which is Wednesday. So Wednesday so far, there were no conflicts.
I'm fine for any of those.
Okay. And did somebody have a conflict for Thursday?
Yeah, I
Sandy,
can't
you
do
did?
Thursday the 22nd.
Okay. So let's plan, you know what, hold on. Let me just take a quick peek at mine should be fine, but if you don't mind, just take a quick peek at my calendar. I'm really just looking up the TV series to see what's coming out on October 21st. Won't have to DVR. I'm kidding. Okay, so we'll go with Wednesday, October 21st at 7 p.m. And that agenda will include a presentation and discussion with the 5th applicant, Team Green, discussion with Chief Clark, unless he wants to submit something in writing, but I would prefer that he be there just for a general discussion, and then the final review and decision on which applicants will refer to the select board. Okay. Anything else? Because it's only 9:13.
This is my third.
I feel like
third
this is easy.
in a row. So
No, I'm sorry,
Only-
Paul. Thank you so much, though.
that's why I get, never mind, I'm not going there. My wife isn't complaining. Probably wants me to have
She's
more.
probably like, "Do you have a meeting on Friday?" Yeah.
I beat you, Paul. This is 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only my second.
This is my second too. It's these last couple weeks have been rough for sure. I can't wait. I'm telling you, if the 17th, if we don't have this town meeting on the 17th and anything else like we need to further discuss, I might just have to play hooky on a meeting.
Partly cloudy and 64 degrees. Come on.
Can't even predict tomorrow.
I know they're wrong all the time. I'd probably feel better if they said rainy right now, right? Because we're so far out. Okay. Anything else for our discussion? Yeah, I am hoping. Okay. The chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Oh, can I?
Yes, you can.
This is the one time I get to do this. So I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Excellent. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, give me 1 second here.
Very excited about that.
I know.
Well,
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote.
I've
Go
been
ahead,
in
Paul.
this- yes.
No, wait, no, go ahead with
I
what
was
you were
gonna say,
saying.
all the years and all the boards I've worked with, I'm staff, so I never get to make motions. So it's it's
I
just
understand.
weird to be able to do it. So take advantage of it.
Yeah, and you should. You definitely should. Okay, so we'll do roll call votes to adjourn. Paul,
Yes.
Denise,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Sandy,
Yes.
Michael,
No. Sorry, Paul.
Mike Units,
Yes.
Mike Massini,
Yes.
and I too vote yes. So we are adjourned as of 9:15 p.m. Thank you guys so very much.
you
And
all.
we will see you Wednesday, October 21st at 7 p.m. And I'll shoot out the information. I got the presentations and stuff via email.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay,
Be
have a
well.
great
Thank you
evening.
guys.
Bye.
You too.
Night,
Bye-bye.
everybody.